Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, hello, my name is Vidya, and first of all, I would like to say that it's really an honor and a privilege to be here in this wonderful event. So, thank you very much for this lovely opportunity. Thank you. So, let me tell you a few words. Who am I? About myself. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, a wife, a teacher, and I'm a manager and leader. I have almost 20 years of experiences in therapeutic work, and for the last 10 years I'm leading an organization with almost 100 employees. I'm also a coach and a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm also a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a good one friend. So I have told you something about myself. And let me ask you now something about you. Who are you? I'm asking the bigger question of who you are. Who am I really? And what do I want in this world? Not what other people tell me, what am I, but who am I really? I don't want just to make a mark or have a legacy or be successful, although everything is good. But for me, the answer to that question is that I want to fulfill my highest, truest version of myself as a human being. And to achieve that, you have to know your value. And to do this, we have to know ourselves. But oftentimes we don't do that because we spend our life or our time pleasing, satisfying, looking out to the world, to what other people think that we are, listening to the messages, images, the limited definitions of who we are. Like, be a good girl, or you are such a good girl. So, but if we live by that limited definition, then we really miss out a lot of who we are really. So, when you know who you are, it's easy to ignore all negative messages about you from people who don't even know you, who don't even know who you are really. So, I have learned that I have to define my role very specifically, very uniquely. And it's really important how I spend my time, my life, and who I want to be in this world, and particularly for people who are close to me, my children, my family, my friends. And to do this, I have to control my life and my time. Because if you don't do that, then other people will. And guess what are their plans for you? So, if you don't prioritize yourself and you start falling lower on your list, and your children start falling lower on your list, or your family or your friends. So, when you know really who you are and you like yourself, then you know your value and you have to protect your value and yourself. And because of that, I hope that you all have a very good relationship with yourself, because let me tell you, it's going to be a long relationship. You must have some kind of vision for your life. Even if you don't have a plan, you have to have a direction in which you choose to go, because you want to be in the driver's seat of your own life. If you're not, then life will drive you. So become more of yourself and grow yourself into the best version of yourself, because life is not happening to you, but it's happening for you. Find your true passion. Find what you love, what you're living for. Because if you find what you love, then you will never get tired. Or if you will get tired, you will be fueled by the energy of your work. So, and you know exactly how it is when you find your passion, because it gives you your juice. You know it's because it feels right for you. So, And you would do it even for nothing, and then you would find a way to do it for living. So work on yourself and fill yourself up. Lift yourself up and keep yourself full. And don't be afraid what society or other people say that it's okay or appropriate or even inappropriate. Because when you are full and you feel that you are full and you feel good about yourself, then maybe some people will say, oh, she's so full of herself. And then they will say, you know, who she thinks she is. But just embrace that and take that as a compliment and say, yes, I'm so full of myself. Because when you are full, you have so much to offer and to give to other people. Because life is all about growth and change. And when you are now not longer growing, that is your whisper to do something else. And you know when you are a child, and then people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I never really liked that question, because it assumes that at some point in your life, you stop becoming, and you just are something. The much better question is, who do you want to be when you grow up? So, serve to something that is bigger, greater than yourself. And then you will be growing until your last breath. Because there really is no difference between me and other people, between you and other people. We are all seeking the same. We all want the same. Everybody wants to fulfill the highest, truest version of yourself. Oh, let's talk about these lovely mistakes. Learn from every mistake you do, because they will teach you and force you into being more of who you are really. So the way through the challenge is to get still and then ask yourself, what is the next right move? And from that space, the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because you know that your life is so much bigger than this one moment. And you are not defined by somebody else, but by somebody else said that it's a failure for you. Because failure is just there to point you in a different direction, that something is not working yet and you should do something else. And it's not the end of the world if you do a mistake, and you really don't have to be perfect. Surround yourself with goodness. All of you living here have the potential for enormous success. But there's a price that comes with that. People don't always like you, and they're not always happy for you. So when you are surrounded with people who are not accustomed to your success, they become fearful, they become scared, because you are reflecting back to them something they don't recognize. And you know that they don't gonna say, oh, you know, I'm so fearful because you are reflecting back to me something I don't recognize. By now you know what they're gonna say. Who she thinks she is. So when you are around people who don't mean and want the best for you, just learn how to get the haters out of your life. When you know who you are really, and there's no need to read or hear about you from people who don't even know you. Because people who want the best for you want you to be your best, So surround yourself with goodness, with people who are going to fill you up. Because like Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So choose wisely your company. You are what you believe yourself to be. You are. We all become exactly what we believe. And the key to success is What you believe is true for yourself, not what you wish, not what you desire or hope or what other people tell you. So don't you ever allow to be defined by the box that other people try to put you in. Because if you believe that there's a glass ceiling and you will have a hard time kicking through that glass ceiling, then you will be defined by it. In this world, there is a lot of things that we can't control. But what you do have control is how you react to whatever happens in your life. So, know now that thoughts are the greatest vehicle in the world, and everything in the world began with a single thought. Even this wonderful event here, Women Economic Forum, began with one single thought. And you get what you believe, so ask yourself, what do you believe really? Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you are right. So choose wisely again. Because life is happening for you, girl, and just have fun. And if we have just 1 minute, if you are so kind, I would like to do with you a short exercise. I would kindly ask you if you would please close your eyes and just relax. Just 1 minute. We have done everything today, so let's do some these techniques. Please close your eyes just for a moment. Thank you. And just breathe with me. Just breathe. Close your eyes and feel your energy as you take 3 deep breaths with me. Inhale. And as you exhale, just feel the vibration, energy, blood through your body, through you. And another inhale. And exhale. And another inhale. And exhale. And keep your eyes closed. And let's just think about this day that you have been graced to breathe in and out, thousands of times. This day when many of those breaths were taken for granted. You just expected the next one to come. But the truth is, there is no guarantee that the next one comes. This day, how you started your day, what your thoughts were this morning, how you have carried yourself through this day, how you have been allowed to have experiences, some challenging, some more enhancing, that push you forward. And another day of being here on the planet Earth as a human being in this beautiful country with love inside its name, Slovenia. Love. And this day alone, and the many days are years and years past, how you get here to this day, the choices you made that have brought you to this day. So open your heart and quietly to yourself say the only prayer that's ever needed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are still here, and you get another chance this day to do better, to be better, another chance to become more of who you were created and what you were created to fulfill, the highest, truest version of yourself as a human being. Now please slowly open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vesna. So, dear Marta, you can join us, please. And we have Miss Sindhu from India, who will also join us. I will put another chair for you. It's okay. We'll put you under the sun. Is it okay? You're from a stunning state. So. So next is Miss Marta, please. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So I may see that there are very different women here, and this is this wonderful thing about such a forum. So I'm a medical doctor, I'm pediatrician, and majority of my working days and years, I work with children with different developmental disability, and last 15 years, especially with children with autism. So my presentation will be different than before. But now you relax, and you can hear me in this relaxed state. So we may experience in last few decades many big changes in our world, in our society, and these big changes, of course, influence or have impact on our lives, on lives of our families, on our children. And I just mentioned a few of them: new technologies. For example, job that influence on jobs. Now we can see this job insecurity now, changes of thinking, sensory overload. Also, you can read a lot about impact of globalization. Also, right now we have some health challenges because of that. And also residents moving, refugees are here, and impacts, of course, on our culture, and so we have, because of this, very or many cultural challenges. So it impacts, as I said, on our personal and family living, and we can see also that this social world and emotional world kind of collapsed during last decades and go toward to individualism, narcissism, changes in gender identity. You can see that many youth now say that they are or cannot find identification with two sexes, but say that they are beyond genders. But also we can see collapse of our classical family forms, and so there are different forms of families and a lack of emotional stability in them. So I mentioned some health challenges in developed countries. There are on the rise depression, many forms of anxiety, psychosomatic disorders, chronic diseases, and also autism spectrum disorders that I very intensely involved, as I said, during the last 15 years. So is this, I'm guessing, is this rising of autism, is this the extreme of individualism, self-centeredness, lack of empathy, and flexibility that we see in our society as the whole? And is this the consequence of social changes? Is this the form of adaptation? What's the meaning of this kind of changes that we live with now? That such little babies and infants can experience this kind of technology on daily basis, many hours per day. What are the impacts of this? So if we can surf on waves of time, of course we have to be flexible. We have emotional stability, be certain in uncertainty, and there are many challenges to reach these goals. But maybe the fear of an unknown is one of the main. How we can develop emotional stability? So first, I may say that children are not adults, and that first 2 years of their living, of their lives, are crucial because of neuroplasticity. So in these first 2 years, we experience our environment, also emotional and social environment, and it has huge impact on the living later on. So I can say that only emotionally stable caregiver and family environment is this that children, the child, infants and toddlers can develop emotional stable and social stable ability later on. So the development of attachment is one of the crucial things. This is the emotional attachment that usually infant developed in the first year of life, first with caregiver, and then, of course, with other in the broader environment. So babies need emotional, stable, safe, and predictable environment to develop the internal place of stability and security. Otherwise, cannot develop these stable, emotional stable and social stable abilities later on. So we are responsible for that. As parents, as adults that are around them, in preschool setting, in school setting, so we are responsible, it's our responsible to create such environment for child development that children can develop as emotional stable and social stable adults. So, and how we can do it? So through professional fulfillment and satisfaction, and of course through personal and partnership growth. And it means to get emotional control, developmental boundaries, communication, and ability to change. So there are many forms of families nowadays, but please be the change toward the families on your left. Unfortunately, we can see and we can experience, me as a pediatrician, many times this kind of families on your right. And thank you, this is my family, my 4 kids, and enjoy your life, enjoy yourself, and enjoy your families. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta, for teaching us something new and for sharing also your beautiful family with us. So let's move on. Mita?
Samo mi spržgemo ali ga?
Jo. Tale?
Treba lahko, veš kaj,
kje je tvoja?
Prezentacijo. Ne, jaz nimam prezentacije,
Aha, to.
ampak tudi, ki si imela prej. Tudi sem, viš, da bo
Ne, tle, kjer si ti?
Marilo futka. Ne, tudi.
Tole. Ok.
A viš, da se bo bliski ta futka bila pa to. All right. Double armed, okay?
No, you're not. No. Wait. Now you are.
I need double power. Yeah. I'll tell you. Okay, I think I have, yeah. Okay. It was the year 1978. In that year, two women scientists by the name of Suzanne Imes and Yvonne Clancy researched a group of 180 women that were very successful, very accomplished, acclaimed. They were liked, and they had, the jobs that in 1978 were kind of reserved for another gender. Do you know what I mean? And so these two scientists researched those 180 women because they wanted to know what made them different. Why were they so successful? And why were they so accomplished? And what did they do? What did they do differently? And actually, that is when they discovered something quite amazing. And that is something that I want to share with you today. They discovered that this special, amazing, incredible women, much like yourself actually, felt very differently inside about their success. Actually, how they were feeling was a little bit afraid even, a little bit fearful that one day someone is going to step outside their comfort zone and call them out and say, hey, you're a fraud. You don't belong to be here. We actually did some research and we discovered that you're not as cool as we thought you were. You actually is not as great as we thought you were. So maybe just give us back the acclaim. Give us back what we gave you as a society and go back to your place where you belong. Have you ever heard about this? This is called the Imposter Syndrome. This is called the Imposter Syndrome. Have you heard about this? Raise your hand if you know it. Well, some of you. But by data, if we're talking percentages, at the time that Clancy and Imes researched this subject, it was discovered that almost half the women have that. And by today, it is discovered that this is not just a female issue. It's an issue of both or all genders, let me say. If you identify or not, you still have the imposter syndrome. So this is something. Okay, now I'm gonna use the microphone number 2 now. Coming, yes! Now I'm closer. So in the year 1978, something else happened. I was born. Round of applause. Yeah, thank you very much. And it's a funny coincidence. I like to think of it as a little bit, the universe working in mysterious ways, because I have suffered from the imposter syndrome my whole life. I've always felt out of place, and I call it feeling like a kid at the grown-ups table. Have you ever felt that? Like you're in a board meeting and you feel like, oh my God, I hope they don't discover that I'm still a kid, actually, And then you're all smart and stuff, and you have your degrees and you have your accomplishments and everything like that, but you still kind of feel like that, that other person is better than you. And I've struggled with this my whole life. And it wasn't until very recently that I've come across a cure for this. So do you want to find out? Yeah, I thought you would, because it's really amazing. It's awesome. So the thing is, it actually has to do with the notion of unconditional love. Have you ever heard of unconditional love? Yes. So it's the opposite of conditional love, right? So let's start by thinking a little bit about what conditional love is. So conditional love is actually what the name says, it's a condition. So if you do this, I will love you. If you are like this, then I will love you. If you're a good girl, you will be loved. If you're wearing, a skirt to here, you will be loved. And if you are like this and if you're like that, then I will love you. And so the thing is that I didn't really notice, and I don't know about you guys, but maybe you sometimes don't notice, that I have been placing conditions upon my own self for years. When I finish school, I will be happy. When I get that guy, I will be happy. When I am more educated, I will be good enough. I have been placing these conditions upon myself for years. And then, well, it came like one point. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of my life. You know, let's just say as a writer and as a coach and as a trainer, I like to dig deep into the bone of things. Like I like to really cut things up and really dig deep into why things are the way they are. And it used to be called that I'm stubborn and that I ask a lot of questions. Well, now it's called that I'm really smart. So I really love that. But so the thing is, I was really digging deep into this issue of unconditional love and so on and so on. And then it came to a point when one time I realized I had this voice in my head, like this inner dialogue going on. Do you guys also talk to yourself a lot? Yeah, okay. So then I come across the notion that I'm actually telling myself really, really strange things. Like, I don't know if you have voices like this in your head, but mine, I call my voice, or actually I called my voice, my inner bitch. Because you know what, at one point, that was about 2 years ago, I remember hearing, I was just folding socks, like really nothing special. I was doing nothing special. I was just doing mom things. And I was folding socks into the drawer. And I hear myself, yeah, you're a loser, aren't you? Oh my God, I'm just putting laundry away. Leave me alone. And then, then I was thinking, but how often do I say things like this to myself? Have you ever said this rude, vicious, nasty thing? You don't have to raise your hand. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but we all know, like, there's plenty of us who sometimes talk to ourselves in that way, when we are alone, when no one's listening, but we're listening, and it's important to change that, So then I thought, you know what, this isn't cool. I'm behaving towards myself like I'm my own worst enemy. I'm behaving towards myself the way that girl did in first grade when she told me that I can't go to that party. Do you remember all that things, that was going on? Yeah, well, let's not bring them back from the from nostalgia. But the thing was, then I said, okay, inner bitch, here's the thing. If you got stuff to say to me, I'll listen. But the thing is, you have to use two things that I learned from public speaking and as a coach. The first thing is, you have to talk to me with 100% respectful tonality. Okay? You have to address me with 100% respectful tonality. Yes, go on. It's very important. It's very important. And the second thing is, if you want to make a message to me, if you want to say something, use the feedback sandwich. Do you guys know the feedback sandwich? It's like just use the positive first, and then give me some points for improvement, and then finish with the positive. So, that led me to actually having to reframe my own thoughts whenever my inner bitch came to wanting to have a conversation with me. She had to say, I'm actually very proud of you for stepping out of your comfort zone. Now, perhaps this time you might have checked, a factor or two because you really weren't prepared enough. But, all in all, good job. Keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, well, thank you very much. I think I will. Now that's applause. Yeah, that's good. Now, little did I know that actually, what I was doing, I was teaching all my faces, all the parts of my identity, how to effectively communicate with one another. You all have your fear, your courage, your anger, your sadness, your disappointment, your skills, your everything, because you are multifaceted. You are not just one person, you are many dimensions. And all those dimensions sometimes create forces inside of us that you don't know where to go, left or right. Is it true, ladies? Is that really happening? It is happening. Sometimes you want to be courageous, but fear comes in and says, hey, did we check all the facts? Right? And then if you don't really teach those parts of you how to effectively communicate with one another, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have chaos inside of you, right? Because they're gonna speak dirty to one another, and it's not gonna be nice. So this is what I actually did. I taught all of them how to communicate with one another, and they started respecting one another. So, now that I hear things like we have to teach people how to communicate with one another inside organizations, as leaders, as female leaders, we have to teach them how to respect one another. We have to teach them how to communicate with one another. Well, I say, how about we teach ourselves first, right? So we don't have that inside, so we actually feel capable and be able to do this. So this is a technique, this feedback sandwich and tonality is actually a technique that I am teaching my clients now. I call this technique DIY love technique. Because if you want to love yourself unconditionally, well, you better start doing it yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for using both mics. So you'll come back. Brigitta, we meet again. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So I can use that also, both mics, if I need it. Cool.
Let's use both. You set the tone now.
You set a great example. Hello. Today, I'm so glad I'm here because actually I have an announcement. First time I'm wearing high heels, and I wanted that for 5 years. And I'm going to tell you why. So this is one of my family beliefs, shaking it off. Great, I got used to it already after 6 hours. So for those of you who don't know me, some of you do know me, I'm first a human. That's what I figured out last year. After 42 years of my existence on the planet Earth. And in the past, I was a professional athlete, Olympian, like super achiever. I was one of these people who had it all. I mean, he really had it all in all categories. But inside, I was really empty, which I'm going to tell my whole story tomorrow. I have 2 more speeches, so please come. Not that I would want to, say some nice things about me, but because people can learn so much from that story, what's possible to achieve. And as Mrs. Marta mentioned before, it's really important how you first 2-3 years of your life. My first 2-3 years of my life started in the hospitals, and I really didn't have things that were missing in my life, which I tried to catch up first in teenager years and then later in adulthood. So I was a perfect example as a super achiever why I ended up in professional sport. Because I wanted to prove myself first and then to everybody who watched me that I'm healthy. So me just being in professional track and field athletics, twice in Olympics, third on the world, I don't know how many titles, I forgot half of them already. It was just telling the world that I'm here, that I'm healthy and I can run. Because I was the person who was always going to gym with the kids with special needs in 1st and 2nd grade. So then you know what a long way was needed to transform myself. Thank you. And this is one of my biggest discoveries by William James, who said, the most revolutionary discovery of our generation is the realization that by changing one's inner mental orientation, one can change the external circumstances of one's life. And I just don't get it, why nobody told us that in our kindergarten already, not just elementary school, because I would save at least 20 years of suffering in my life, even though on the outside it was all brilliant and nice, And also the second belief, which I shedded off in United States, actually, I was really privileged in my life, later on, not first 3 years. 80% of our mindset and 20% is very important in our lives is 80% whatever we do, however we talk, walk, dress, it's dependent on our mindset and just 20% on our skills. So how many of you, I just wanted to raise the hand. Does it work? Okay. Achieved many diplomas. Nice skills, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, Petra. Like multiple diplomas. Great. Okay. At least 2. Okay. So how many of you achieved a lot of amazing sport results? Like that you over expected, like your family surrounding? Great. How many of you achieved a lot of academic results? Like amazing. Wow. Whoa. So we are all super achievers here. That's why we are lecturing here. Why I'm asking this? Because I think we are a great example to the rest of the people who are just waking up. I mean, I needed 42 years, actually 41 years to waken up. That we tell them that it's nothing wrong what they're going through right now. And it is a procedure we need all to go through. Because at the beginning, nothing was told, what I just said. Maybe just those 2 beliefs, they were not told to them. And we need to help them to find their giant self and to bring that power outside of their body and bring it full in their mind and just start living the life why they came here to this planet, you know? We all have certain mission, vision, and the way it is today, the planet, it is just moving with such exponential pace and growing and everything that we need to do some actions. But how we do actions? We can't do the actions if we go on the world every day and face it with our inner pain. That's impossible because we are not 100% full. We need to heal ourselves first and at the same time spread this around to every individual possible. So whoever touches me, whoever I touch every day, I make sure that every day I do my self-love routine, 1 hour, at least 30 minutes every day, because I know if I go to the world, to this, how they call it, war, the guy said in the previous room, the signs of war, that's how the business is done in this world. I know I'm not gonna touch these people fully, and I want to be fully present. I don't wanna do halfway things anymore, because I did for 41 years. If I move forward, okay. So, we came a long way, because 100 years ago nobody showered, right? Or even more, before. And nowadays, some of us, some of you, and maybe you have some friends, we do every day at least body hygiene, or mental hygiene, I call it, or mental ability. Like, how many of you is meditating here? Let's say 3 times a week. Okay, great, cool. How many of you is reflecting every day what happened, how I reacted, how can I be a better self? Okay, great. I'm so happy that so many already. So those are the things I think should be a norm and a standard also for the rest of the population, not just in Slovenia, because I visited, I think, 1/4 of the world, I think 46 countries. But while I was doing that, with my other occupation, I was always feeling so empty inside. And I think it was a long journey that I came to here, and I don't think that nowadays these kids, who we are role models to them, need to take such a long journey as I did, for example, or even more people I know, they need maybe 30, 40 years that they've woken up. Important is that you find your mission, that you shred some of the beliefs, like I will tell you some of mine, which I'm sure they're deeply rooted. Oh, that was Mia before. You know which one? I'm really different. So this was my world, and I thought to the rest of my life it's gonna be the world which I will continue. As you might know, in Slovenia it's common, either when you finish your career, that you open a coffee shop or you become a coach, sport coach, but it's very uncommon that you become a coach as I'm today. especially teaching breathing techniques, mental techniques. It is like, whoa, Brigitta, this is too much, when they heard. But I always, since I was little, I knew it. Not that I will do something like this, but I knew it that I'm different because a lot of people around me told me, Brigitta, you ask too many questions, you are thinking differently, you are not really fitting into that world. And just this week, one manager who we seen each other 20 years ago, he said, Brigitta, that's the manager who goes to Robin Sharma, Business Titans workshops. He said, Brigitta, you know what? You're finally gonna launch yourself online. I'm gonna buy your workshop first. I was like, oh God, I'm so glad. So you put me as similar as Robin Sharma, I'm so glad. And I'm just beginning to do these things. And here are some of those beliefs. I'm sure you will find yourself on some of those. I think there are 6 or 7 because I checked Isa login last week when I was getting ready for this. She said it's 6 or 7 beliefs, but I think those are so rooted into my patterns I got from my family, from my culture, that some of them I'm still working on it. One, it is my voice doesn't matter. Okay, who's gonna be brave? So how many people still? Okay. Why my voice doesn't matter? Because I came from hospitals. I was a child who was drugged by age of 7, impossibly, I needed 7 or 8 years to clean my body, to start living normally as other kids up to 18 years. When I was 18 years old, I finally was able to run normally, freely, without asthma attacks, without allergies, without skin irritations, all kinds of things I had. And I always thought my voice doesn't matter. Why? Because there was another deeply rooted belief, which is, do not stand out. It's not safe to stand out. That was our also great. That was our school system. I used to go to sport gymnasium in Ljubljana, and I used to be the one who was fighting for the weakest in the classroom. And twice I almost also twice I was almost expelled out of the school, even though I had great grades and I was super achiever and everything, but just because, I was different than the rest of the crowd. And believing into myself, that's one so deeply rooted belief that I said I'm gonna hack it at least in another 10 years, I hope so, through the rites I'm going, through the hypnosis, to the things I'm doing like every year if something surfaces up. And believing into myself was mostly rooted, they say already something's great in the womb, when your mother's stomach. I think mine is probably coming way back, if you believe in previous lives. I think it's coming from my ancestors. And long time, I didn't know what is my purpose for a long, long time. And this killed me because I was doing so many things and I didn't narrow the stuff. Now I know, I'm so glad. And the lack of being loved, this is totally coming from my family patterns because my grandmother was not loved to herself. She was not loved by her husband. Also from my mother, of course, she was even worse version. And then myself, because I had this loneliness problem, which I experienced in the hospitals, plus not being taken care of first 5 years of my life. Doctors took care of me most of the time because mom couldn't, at that time, mom were not allowed in the hospital. So, of course, you were just, cut it from your person who they love you the most. And this feeling is sometimes showing up. It's really scary. Sometimes I woke up in the morning from really nightmares, and it's like I'm the only one left on planet Earth. It's like I cannot describe. This is terrible. Maybe some of you experience something like that. But I think it's also a feeling I will probably resolve somewhere, maybe in 20 years, we will see. But at least I'm not getting frightened anymore. So I'm sure that a lot of people on this planet, the last one, they think, they believe that you are not being loved. It's very, very buried underneath our subconscious. Because we were raised, different cultures, they were raised differently, especially on the, let's say, Arabic countries, Middle East, where I travel. Africa is totally different raising up. And even in United States, which is like a super achievement country, you know, is like you just try to super achieve everything, but inside is also underlying this belief, I am still not enough. Whatever I do, it's still not enough. So you just get into this rat race. So my wish today for all of you is check what are your subconscious beliefs and start working one by one, you know, each day on it. There are certain techniques, methods, they help you to crack this faster, because more of you gonna be healed of each one of those beliefs, and 3 more, there you're gonna provide the world with the light the world deserves to finally get, and we're gonna preserve this planet, which is so beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brigitta, for sharing your journey, your story. And now we have another speaker, Sindhu. Will you join us? Thank you. Wait.
How much time do I have?
10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't see a timer here, so.
No, we have no timer here because we are really good in timings here.
Okay, yeah.
So
There was a timer there at the other hall.
no, it's fine. Let's just put this one. There you go.
I think it's too far away. I'm not tall.
Take this one. There you go.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I think I'm learning a lot today. It's like fast forward. You know, I've never learned so much in a day. Right. I come from India, the southernmost tip of India. It's called Kerala. Right, the topic, I had seen all the topics, but the topic which we picked today, I thought it requires a lot of introspection. It's very, very personal. So I'll take you to the journey of being from a nice girl to a not so nice as a girl, that is maybe an assertive one. Let me just take you through how India works. I'm 52, so things have changed considerably now because of all these women's forums. But years ago, that is maybe 30 years ago, things were different. I'll just sort of divide it into 3. One is the personal one, then the career, and the spirituality. I think the spirituality is the most important one. Anyway, life has taken me through a journey which, when I have a look back, it is really bad. You know, so before I came here, I thought whether I should be telling about myself, or I know many stories about other women. So I decided to tell about myself, because shedding the old skin, only I can tell. Right. I was born into a reasonably good family, and my mother was a teacher. My father was an agronomist. He specializes in soil chemistry. He had his doctorate, and my mother was not allowed to work because it was not considered, up to the mark for a woman to go out and work. So right from childhood, I made it a point that I'll work really well, and I'll go to a professional education so that my father and the relatives cannot say no. So I took up architecture. I passed with a gold medal, and naturally in India most of the marriages are arranged. So my father arranged me to get married to a doctor. He was a surgeon. So they told me, see, he's a doctor, so you don't have to work. So I just told him, I just bluntly told him, I'm going to work. If you leave or not, it's not my problem. I'm going to work. So from there on, I started working. But the real problem on my personal front came when in India there is a thing called dowry system, where the girl's family has to give money, but they didn't ask initially. So my father, I'm an only child, my father had no clue that they wanted the dowry, but slowly it sort of crept in. So after 1 year, he asked for 1 lakh to go to UK to do his plab. There was a huge tantrum. I went and, when you're young, your intuition is really, really strong. It's the other beliefs and what other people say which brings down your intuition. I straight away went and told my father, see, this is not the way I want. I've studied well. I was reasonably good looking then, so I don't want to be treated that unkindly, and I do not want to be valued for the money. But there in India, the parents think it's quite a good catch to have a doctor son-in-law. So I was pushed back. Has anybody heard this story of Ramayana? Yeah, it is a story where the character, the heroine, is like very docile, very patient, and whatever the husband does, she just accepts it. So that is how my father and most of the relatives considered women. So it went on. The amount of money increased. So he went for his FRCS in UK. I went with him. The exposure outside to the Western world was a big eye opener. I started to see how other women are being treated. That is why I come for such conferences. When you see women from other cultures, how they are treated, how they approach life, it makes a huge difference. So the demands for money were there. My father kept on giving money, no questions asked. Anyway, I worked in UK as a junior architect. I got my postgraduate diploma from De Montfort University, whereas he got his FRCs in plastic surgery. And then we went to US, where he did his fellowship. And after 13 years, we came back to Calicut. Calicut is a very Muslim-based area. We do not belong to Calicut. So when we came there, the amount of money actually increased over the years, which was being demanded. And I had 2 children. So every time I would go back and tell my father, see, he's asking for money, don't give him. So he would say, you've got kids, and what would the society say if you walk off? So this sort of went on, and the sort of domestic abuse was, I would say that he was very clever, being a doctor. There was no physical abuse, but the mental abuse was gross. Being an architect, I had to go to the site, and I was pretty tired when I came back home. I had the children to attend to the other family things, but I was not allowed to sleep at night. And I had to get up again the next morning at 5 o'clock to prepare the kids to school. So, when I gave my legal case for divorce, when I looked back, I actually investigated how this domestic violence was being done. Actually, I noticed that he had a lot of books about Hitler in his library. When I Googled through to the techniques which were used, it were the same techniques. Sleep deprivation was a major technique. So I thought, it's a first time I know that domestic violence can be that scientific. Anyway, what happened next was he was not giving me any money to run the house. I had, in India, it works with servants, a driver and all that. It's a huge setup. So I needed money. I couldn't go back to my father and ask for money. He would ask for money, but I was too proud to ask. I was working with a senior architect. It just sort of clicked me. See, if I wanted to develop myself, if I wanted to generate more money, I needed to have a company of my own. So in Calicut, no woman would start an office because it's a very predominantly Muslim area, a very male-dominated area. Women still go around in pardas. So I talked to my father and I talked to my ex-husband, and he said, no, you're crazy. But, something inside you, it sort of, you believe in yourself. That is the first time. It didn't work on my personal side then, but career-wise, I knew I was really good. So I just started off. I borrowed 5 lakhs from my father, and I just started off my office. That was another way I changed the system, what the social norms were. From 2 small projects, I developed to many, many big projects. I did hospitals, hotels, convention centers. It was good, career-wise. But on the personal side, it was a downslide. As soon as I started my office, after 3 months, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. That wasn't a very good thing to come at that time. It was a very important juncture. So I had my mastectomy, then I had the chemo. But everybody said, you just closed down the office. You're not fit for it because you don't know how the ground is. But something in me just held me on, and I just continued the office. The chemo was pretty bad for me, but I somehow managed it. I went to all the sites. I think I pulled it off, and I went through the radiation as well. But honestly, actually, cancer was not my problem. It is, I think it's just a physical difficulty I had. The problem was in the home side. He made me do a hysterectomy without any indication, and every night he would strip me and say that you're not good enough to live. Are you a woman? This sort of went on for another 8 years. My children were small. I didn't want to leave the kids. This was pretty bad. So every time he would say that, there is a spiritual book in Hinduism. It's called Bhagavad Gita. There it says, you are the spirit, you are not the body. Your spirit just overlaps your body. The body is given by God, but the spirit is part of God. So, that, it just kept on, every time he would do that, he would repeat it. And every time he would repeat it, I just kept saying that in my mind. And there came a time when I just couldn't hold on anymore because I was not allowed to use any of the rooms in the house. I had to sleep in the servants' quarters, and that was it. I just walked off. In the legal system in India is not very good. It's not very protective of women. So after 25 years of marriage, I pretty much lost everything. The house, he wanted all the money, in the common bank account, and the kids. There were 2 boys. The elder one was already a major, but the younger one was too small, and he wouldn't give me the kids. That is a very, very difficult situation for a mother. I stayed there all these years for the kids, so that they have a family together. That is where the real turning point comes. I was so upset. So it was, I think the legal battle took about 5 years. He wouldn't give me divorce because I had properties to back me up. He wanted the properties. I said, no, you're not having the properties. So eventually what happened was, I started reading more. That really helps. And when you actually try for something, that is, you're actually trying for peace. I've heard that universe conspires itself and gives you what you want. So I met with an ascetic, a guru from one of the Himalayan regions, and he just came accidentally to a place, and he said, you know what, in your astrological chart, there is a phase there where all your family life will stop. if you grow yourself, if you empower yourself, everything is going to come back. So he has given me a specific period, and I think once I started empowering myself, once I started being happy with myself, the children started coming. You know, it's actually a miracle. When you heal yourself, things just fall into place. You know, and regarding the money, I think I'm still capable of earning it. Meditation, as you said, is the most powerful thing which you can ever get in your life. That is, you are cleansing your mind of all the thoughts. It is the thoughts and the beliefs which holds you back. If you cleanse your mind, nothing remains. In an empty mind, where are the emotions? You don't have any emotions in an empty mind. So I regularly meditate in the morning for an hour, and you will not believe it. I was discussing with Manasi today. You know, in many places we struggle to meditate, but Slovenia is one place where it comes naturally. I'm serious about it. You know, when I get up in the morning, these 2 days in the hotel room, I get up with no thoughts. This place, I don't know whether it's because you take care of the land, the ecology, or people think much more positively and they care about one another. There is something about this place which I have never ever found in any other country. I've traveled to around 15 countries. I travel a lot, but this place is totally different. Other than the Himalayas, I don't think there are many places like this. So I think you should be really proud to live in a place like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy, for sharing your story with us. It touched all of us, and thank you maybe for reminding us Slovenians that we live in a beautiful city, in a beautiful country. We keep forgetting that a lot of times, and we are searching